Okay, so yes, okay. Hmm. So we are live now. Fine. So we'll start the streaming once again. Actually, just in the previous live stream, there was some technical glitch. There was some issue in the sound, but don't worry, I'm there once again here. Okay, remember these live streams are going to happen on the Saturday only, Saturday at 10 a.m. only. Okay, from the next Saturday we will maintain the timing. Fine. So we all are here for the sessions on software testing. Okay, so here we have started the live streaming since the last Saturday, right? And here we are going to discuss all the concepts from the software testings and uh, we will just 1 second. Okay, I'm setting up because I'm quite new to live streams, so certain things are quite uncertain. So just hold on, I'll make this setup properly. Okay, just 1 second. Fine. Let me also tell you that we are doing these live streams, and the notes that I'm sharing in the live stream, I'm putting it in the Telegram. So notes or the PPTs or PDF. So you can go to amolujagare.com/Telegram and stay connected with me on Telegram. The links I guess I have given in the description. If not, after the live streaming, I'll just put those uh, in the description of this, and let me also put this in the Telegram group just in case if you are already connected with me on Telegram, so you can just attend this session from this link. Okay, so from here let me just check. Okay, just give me 1 minute. I will you know see this. Okay, so are we in okay, the just give me 1 minute. Right, yes, fine. So we have started these live streaming sessions on software testing since last yesterday. Okay, from now onwards it will be on 10 a.m. only. Fine, in case if you are unable to attend, you can watch this session later also. It will be there forever on YouTube. Fine. As I said, you can join this Telegram group. You have to just go to this particular link, and you can then connect to the Telegram group as well. Yes, I have given this link in the description as well. Fine. So in the last class, what we have done is we have seen the basics of the software testing. We have seen that what is a software. Then we have seen what is software testing. Fine. So what is a software? What is a software testing? Then we have seen uh, then we have seen a basic of waterfall model. Okay, we will quickly revise this, and today we are going to discuss few more models like prototype model, then incremental development model, and spiral model. and if time permits I'll just talk a little bit on Agile model also. Fine. So just 1 second, I'll just check. Yes, everything is good. Fine, we'll continue with our session. So here I'm going to present or use some PPTs, and those PPTs you will have in this Telegram group. Again, if you are not connected to this Telegram group, please do connect, and you will have these notes here. So in the last class we have seen, I'll quickly revise the session in brief, and in case if you have not watched the session, you can just go back and check the session on the same channel. I'll give the link in the description. Fine. So what is a software? So we have seen there are three types of softwares. One is actually window based, second is uh, web based, and the third one is window based but online. Okay, so window based applications are be like your Word, PowerPoint, Excel, or any dex dec desktop based billing application. Okay, web based applications are like Amazon, then Facebook, Gmail. Ultimately those opens in the browser. Then window based but online. So window based applications are like window based but online are like Amazon Music, and banking applications like Bank of India and Bank of Maharashtra. Okay, so they are need to be installed on your Windows, but the data comes from online. So we have seen these types of softwares we have. Then we have seen the importance of software testing. Before the product or the software goes into the customer's hand, we must test it properly, because when it goes into the customer's hand and if it is not working properly, then there will be no use of it. Customer will not use it, and next time it will, and there will be uh, customer will not pay for the things that actually don't work as per expectations, right? So before the things goes into the customer's hands, we must just check it for properly, thoroughly. And this exercise, or let's say exercising or evaluating the software application in order to find bug, is nothing but software testing. Fine. Application. Now we have seen, when certain company or any software industry develop a software, this software can be the requirement based software or the service based software. So requirement based means a service based software or a product based software. So service based software means what? Some organization, they want some implementation, or they want to do certain automation in their offices. They go to the software company and ask them for their requirements, right? So these are the requirements, and you develop an application for them. For example, let's say there is an organization which want to maintain the their stock. They want to maintain their invoices, billing, and maintain or observe or monitor the incoming and outgoing payments of their suppliers, clients, and all that. So this requirement is given to the software industry or software company, and the software company evaluates the requirement, and based on that requirement the company, it develops the product. Second is, okay, so one way is let's say requirement based software. Okay, it means that customer gives the requirements. Second is, let's say, product based. The best example is your Microsoft products like MS Word, PowerPoint, or Excel. Fine. Or some other application that you directly use. Means nobody has given the requirement to the software company. The different applications you see like Facebook or your Telegram, WhatsApp. So those are the applications. Let me write here: WhatsApp, then Telegram, Facebook, then Gmail. These are the applications which actually no customer has gone to the company. The company has found out the need in the market and they developed these applications. Okay, so these are their own products. Even this word PowerPoint, these are their own products. So you have the softwares requirement based or it can be a product based. But whenever they design these software, whenever they prepare these software, they must understand the exact need and the requirement. Okay, so that requirement is properly documented first, understood first, made the understanding is made within a team, maybe developers and the testers, and the product is built. When the product is built or when it is done properly, or the product is created, so directly it does not go into the market, right? So it is first evaluated, okay, and tested. So testing happens before the product goes to the customer hand. Okay, and for implementing all this process, different companies, they maintain different methodologies, right, based on the software development life cycle. So in software development life cycle, we have seen that there is actually requirement analysis phase, requirement analysis phase, then design phase is there, then after design coding happens, coding phase is there, then testing happens, and then deployment means the delivery of the product, and then maintenance. This is a general SDLC, that is software development life cycle. SDLC, software development life cycle. Okay, so different companies, as I said, it has different approaches to develop the software. So one of the approach is called as waterfall model, and in the last session we have talked about this. I'll just quickly revise this waterfall model. Okay, so in the waterfall model, almost the stages are like the SDLC. You can just see it here like this. Okay, so this is the diagram of waterfall model. So here water is falling down and these are the stages. Fine. So why it is called as waterfall model? Because once you design the requirement or once you make the requirements are frozen. And then we go to the next stage, design. Means when you start working with the design phase, no requirement can be altered. Again, after completion of the design phase, there is a coding phase, and when you start the coding, you cannot alter the design. When you start or when you complete the coding, there is a testing phase. So in testing phase, there is no change in the coding. Only if the bugs are reported, then those are actually resolved in the testing field phase. Then we have deployment and maintenance. Fine. So in the last session, I have explained these phases in detail. So if you have not watched the session, you can just go back and check the previous session. Fine. And by the way, these notes and the PPTs, I'm going to share it on the Telegram group. So if you have not joined the Telegram group, the link is given in the description, right? So that you will get access to the documents and material of the sessions that I am conducting in the Saturday Live. Okay. So apart from this waterfall model, there are other different methodologies also. So we are going to learn them one by one. So you may, when we'll go to the organization or when you will join any software company, then you will experience certain methodologies. Sometimes what happens is that the softwares are designed randomly, but ultimately, knowingly or unknowingly, they are actually following certain methodologies, and that methodologies could be among the models that we are going to discuss. Fine. So this is very easy and systematic and simple model with some advantages and disadvantages. We have discussed these in the previous session. Now today we are going to see another model, that is a prototype model. And I can say that actually I have implemented this in my organization for one of the application for a client. Okay, so I'll just show you this. Okay, let me just talk about what exactly I done, and then we will see its life cycle. So see, I had a client wherein the client wanted to have his address on the invoice. He had an application, right? So it was the vehicle reservation application. Means they had the agency of giving cars on rent, the car rental application it was. So every time they receive a payment, they generate the invoice, and this was the previous invoice they had. And what they wanted is on this particular section, they wanted their address as well. So it was the client address and they wanted their address as well. Okay, so this was the requirement. So we understood the requirement, and what I've done is I have created a pictorial representation of it, a model of it, or you can say prototype of it. So you see in the red section, so this was not there previously. Okay, so this field was not there. So I have designed a image. Okay, so it was, I have taken a screenshot of it and just added this part in this image, and I've shown it to the client. And the client, I have conveyed the client that if you want to keep your address over here inside the invoice, then we will have to add a field here, and you have to type the address over here, right? And whatever you will type, that address will appear on this invoice. Fine. So it was good for the client as well. So before getting the application prepared, client had a clear visualization of it. Fine. So in the previous model, the waterfall model, there actually the client sees the application or any pictorial representation only at the deployment stage. And here what I had done, before actually developing it, before actually we started coding it, I have just given the idea to the client that this could be the picture when you will receive the product. Fine. So here just observe this diagram, and this is actually the prototype model. So what happens here is you get some initial requirement from the client, then you prepare a design for it and make a prototype and show it to client, just like I have created an image and I have shown it to the client. Customer evaluates it and it they gives reviews and updation. In my case, in the first prototype itself, it was approved and the design continued. In the first attempt, the customer was satisfied and then we continued. But sometimes what happens that customer, when see the actual image or when see the actual prototype, then customer may give you certain enhancement or certain reviews or updations. So what you do is you make the changes according to the customer's requirement and again do the prototype and show it to the customer or client. Unless customer is satisfied, you continue this process. When the customer is satisfied, then you start development, then you start testing and do the maintenance. Okay. Now there are certain important advantages of this prototype model. See, in the previous model, that is the waterfall model, whenever the requirements are collected, so those are freeze there itself. So customer has to intervene only when the real products is been prepared, right? So in between phases, like in design phase, in coding phase, customer has no involvement. So at the end, when customer gets a product, then it might not be as per his requirement. So here in this case, we are, understanding and finalizing the requirement taken from the customer in the evaluation or the prototype phase itself. So what it does, so because of this, our additional time and cost that may occur in the design and coding phase, it's reduced, because your time and effort is your cost of the software, because you have hired the developers and testers and you have to pay them. So your time and effort is your cost of the product, and because your requirements are very much clear and very much satisfied with the client, so it reduces your time and cost. The user involvement is more in this at initial stage itself. So the customer, because is involved at the initial stage itself, the quality of product increases and improved. Fine. So along with this, there are certain disadvantages also. So disadvantages are be like, whenever customer sees anything in the picture format, then he or she may think that, let's have something more, let's have something advanced. And this cycle goes on repeating, and you go into the endless cycle of the prototyping and evaluation because of the customer's confusion. This could be one of the disadvantage. Second thing is that the developer might have certain attachment to the prototype. Then most of the times when customer says that please do these changes, then developer may not feel good. Then as I said, due to the confusion of the customer, this prototyping goes endlessly. and because it involves a lot of time and efforts, cost of implementing the prototyping is increased. Okay. See, every software development model, it will have certain advantages and certain disadvantages. It is you who need to decide that what is our priority, what is the things that uh, is to be implemented on high priority. So based on that, you can choose your model. Okay, so this was about the prototype model. Now we will see the next type of model, and that is uh, incremental development model. Okay, so incremental development model, just one second, look at this. So in this model there are different phases we have, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and each phase, if you just see, is a small SDLC, a small software development like life cycle. It is like a mini project. So in first phase, the mini project or this small requirements is developed and shown it to the client. Okay, see, you have overall project, and out of which you pick up a small model or small part of it, and then you design and develop that part, and you perform just like any other SDLC cycle, like analysis, design, coding and testing, and show it to the client. This will be your phase 1. Similar phases will be there, similar number of phases will be there, and those whenever the next phase is created, that is added to the previous one. Whenever the next phase is created, that is added to the previous one, and so on. Fine. So in short, the whole requirement is divided into various builds. Multiple development cycles takes place. Each module passes through the requirement, design, implementation and testing phase, and each subsequent release of the module adds a function to the previous release, and the process continues till we complete the system. Fine. Now the advantages of this is, it generates a working software very quickly and early during the software life cycle, right? And in this model is more flexible, means client can involve and you know tell the changes. Here changes are welcome quite easily. Then it is easier to test and debug during the small iteration. We can see this module customer responds to each build. In the waterfall model, or even in the prototype model, once in prototype model, once the prototype is done, so unless the complete design is implemented, the customer is not having the real application. So here in this incremental model, the customer will have small builds and he can evaluate it. It lowers the initial delivery cost, means smaller phases can be immediately delivered to the client, and because of this, the initial delivery cost, at least it is lowered. Then it is easier to manage risk, because risk in the sense, risk could be, for example, uh, it could be a project risk, or it could be a project risk or a product risk. So might be we are having certain people working on it, and let's say some people goes on leave due to a sick leave or something, whatever, or there could be a hardware failure. So this could be a risk, and because the phases are smaller, then we can very easily mitigate those risks. Then it is, as I said, easier to manage the risk because it is divided into small pieces and it can be handled. Fine. And let's see the disadvantages of this model. So here we need very strong and excellent planning and design, and your developer must know the clear and complete understanding of the overall picture. You know, because sometimes what happens is that if your developer is not that experienced, then he or she may just will think about that particular model, but there could be certain impacts of that model on other, might be a previous model or could be the model which will come in the next phase. So they might ignore them in case if they don't have the clear understanding of the overall system, right? And the total cost of the whole development is much higher than the waterfall model. So this is the incremental development model. Fine. Now we will go to the next model. Okay. So these PPTs in the form of PDF, I'm going to share it on the Telegram group. So if you have not joined the Telegram group, the link is given in the description. Do join it. Right. So these sessions are going to happen on every Saturday 10 o'clock. Today it is actually, I'm conducting quite late because I started it at 10 o'clock, but there was some technical issue in some sound related issue was there, so I discontinued that and I'm again scheduling it now. But from next Saturday it will be at 10 o'clock only. Fine. And you will keep on getting the notifications also on the Telegram group if you have joined the Telegram group. Fine. Up to this, if you are thinking that this is helping you to understand the knowledge of the software testing, so I request you to please hit that like button, and if you have still not subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. Okay. And if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comment also, in the live chat also, or later on also you can read out your comment and you can express in case if these sessions are helping to you. So you can write your comment below this video, right? Because see, I personally read all the comments, and in case if you have anything, any questions, then I will definitely answer them. Okay, so let's move to the next model, and that is the spiral model. So this is the spiral model. So mostly this is implemented in the large organization. So here this model is, it looks like this. So here we have planning phase first, and then a risk analysis phase, then engineering and evaluation. In planning phase, there is a requirement analysis or requirement gathering. In risk analysis, we have risk analysis and prototyping. And then in engineering phase, there is coding and testing, and evaluation phase, customer evaluates your product. Now understand this spiral model, it inherits the systematic nature of your waterfall model and iterative nature of the prototype model. Fine. So this is the spiral model. If you just observe it, so it is quite systematic. First planning, then risk analysis, then engineering, then evaluation. And here you see certain repetitions are there, right? So prototyping and coding, it happens, customer evaluates, and again this phase continues unless the product is completed. So it is said that it follows the spiral model, it follows the systematic nature of the waterfall model and iterative nature of the prototype model. Fine. And this model is implemented when there is high risk, right? So at three points are as such, in which case this spiral model will be implemented. In case if your risk is very high, okay, what is risk? I'll just talk about it shortly. And there are several alternative availables, right? So the same problem, or let's say the same um, implementation can be different, implemented in different ways. So in that case, the spiral model is used. And here you see there are a lot of risk analysis is going to happen, a lot of customer evaluation is going to happen. Then customer must agree that it is not a fixed budget project, right? So most of the times customer pays like on hourly basis or weekly basis or monthly basis, right? So based on the time it goes, the effort it requires, the customer has to pay. Fine. Now let's understand what is a risk. So risk is something that is unexpected, an unexpected event that causes delay or failure of the project. The two examples of the risks I'm giving you. So let's say we have planned something, and you know, if a team member goes on a sick leave, fine, then let's say whatever we have planned for this particular project or this particular phase, what happens is that the time may increase because of certain work is being done by an employee and he or she is not available. So this could be a risk of increasing your delivery time. Second thing, it could be a hardware issue. So let's say you have certain systems and certain hardware it gets failed. Then also this could be a risk of delivering the product on time. You may not be able to deliver the product on time if any kind of, these are just the example, there could be some other risks as well. So risk is something that is unexpected, right? And it causes the delay to your project or failure to your project. So you have to analyze these risks in advance. Okay. And then the mitigation. Mitigation means the solution to the risk. For example, let's say if your team member goes on a sick leave, then you must have a planning that if something happens, then how the load will be divided among the other developers. And in case the hardware issues, see, so many times or almost all of the companies, they don't maintain their data on their own machine. They take VPN. Okay, so that if you have any basic machine and if you have login credentials, so you can just connect to the VPN and you can do your job there. Fine. So in case if such a risks are there, then in case if you have certain risks, so you can mitigate it. Fine. So the alternatives are available for implementing the same. Certain alternatives are available, and more ways are there with the help of which you can implement it. Fine. So yes, I am going to address your questions as well. Okay, just let me complete this. If you have, you can just keep typing your questions. You can just add it to the chat, and later on I'll try my level best to answer your questions. Fine. And most important thing is that the customer must agree that it is not a fixed budget project, because it is going to be a longer. Now the advantages of spiral model. See, high amount of risk analysis is done in advance and we can avoid the risk. Then it is good for the mission critical projects, very large projects, and let's say there is a time frame is also less than, this can be implemented. So here we have a strong approval and documentation control. Means nothing can be altered that easily. Means properly the approval has to be taken, right? So that any small changes, it may not affect your overall work or overall project. Then at any time an additional functionality can be added, and the software is produced quite early in the software life cycle. Fine. So these are certain advantages of the spiral model. There are certain disadvantages too. So this is very costly model, right? Because at the initial stage itself, right? So the customer is been told that there it will not be a fixed budget project. The project can go longer. Fine. So it will be a costly model. There is no other option to it. Second thing is that for risk analysis, you need very highly specific expertise. And your project success is highly dependent on the risk analysis phase. Fine. The people must be intelligent, must have a lot of experience to analyze the risk. And it does not, this kind of model is not good for a smaller project. If you have larger project wherein there are a lot of different alternatives to implement it, a lot of risks are involved in that, then we implement the spiral model. Okay. Now, this was all about the spiral model. Let's say, what do we have next? See this agile model. Now this is most popularly used. So I'll just show you a diagram of agile model. Okay, so this is just a rough idea. So here, actually I worked in the agile environment actually. So in our organization, what it was, let's say it was a 5 days a week, and for first 4 days we were actually developing, and the fifth day was the for the customer evaluation. Fine. So here we got a different requirement list, and this list is divided into certain iteration. Now each iteration is implemented and it is shown it to the client. Fine. Customer or client evaluates it, and if any changes are there, those are actually told, and any issues if customer finds, those also are been added into it, and this continues till the software is developed. Fine. So in short, this model breaks task into small increments and minimal planning. So the short iterations are implemented and shown it to the client. Client do the testing and tells the changes if required. This minimizes the overall risks and allows the project to adopt the time critical applications. So a lot of advantages are there of this agile model. So this model actually speeds up the SDLC phases, and due to the client involvement after each iteration, there is a good scope of regular adaptation to the changes in the requirement, and hence even if the changes comes in late in the requirement, those are welcome. The testing team gets easily access to the software to be tested. Now there are certain disadvantages of agile model also, right? So first thing is that we need very expert people to implement the agile model. So their concept of this process must be very strong. Let's say if a developer is unclear about the final outcome of the project, then this project can go out of the track. For example, I'll give you one example. So what happened is that in our organization, when I was a developer, I've been told by my manager to add a close button for certain place. At some place, he wanted me to add a close button, but he also told me that when you will click on this close, so certain row should be vanished, and capture the ID from it, and I want to use it for further. So what I did is I've just focused on closing functionality, so that when I click on that close button, so the particular row it got vanish, and that was working. But somehow I was not able to capture the ID as told by the manager, and later on it affected. So actually I had no idea of the overall outcome of the product. I was just focused to the task which is given to me. So if such case is there, then you will have problem, right? So your developer must be involved in the overall understanding of your project. So experts and experienced people are needed, since inexperienced people do not they are not capable of taking the required decision without their support.